Captain Minho Kim stood on the bridge of the warship Defiant, staring at the view screen. Outside in the darkness of space, 200 alien ships approached Earth. They were massive vessels, each one twice the size of any human ship. Their hulls gleamed with a dark purple metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Minho had been watching them for 3 days now. 3 long days of waiting, of holding his finger away from the trigger. His crew was restless. Everyone wanted to fight. Everyone wanted to protect their home. But the orders from Earth were clear. Do not fire first. "Captain, they're getting closer," said Lieutenant Bora at the tactical station. Her voice was tight with tension. "They'll be in firing range of the outer colonies in 2 hours." Minho nodded but said nothing. His jaw clenched. On the edge of his vision, he could see the small blip that represented Mining Station 17. His sister worked there. 300 people lived on that station, pulling precious metals from asteroids to build more ships, more habitats, more futures for humanity. The aliens called themselves the Velkari. They had sent their message 5 days ago. It was simple and brutal: surrender or die. Earth had 48 hours to respond. When President Taeyang Choi refused, the Velkari fleet jumped into human space. "Sir, Admiral Park is on the comm," said the communications officer. Minho straightened his uniform and pressed the button. Admiral Una Park's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired. Her eyes had dark circles under them, and her usually perfect hair was slightly messy. She had probably not slept since the Velkari arrived. "Captain Kim, status report," she said. "The Velkari fleet maintains formation. They're moving slowly, almost like they want us to see them coming. No hostile action yet, but they're heading straight for the mining colonies." "I know this is hard, Minho," Una said, using his first name. They had known each other for 15 years, since the academy. "But you have your orders. Do not engage unless they fire first. Admiral, with respect, we could end this right now. Our weapons are better. Our ships are faster. If we strike now, we could win the battle and lose everything else," Una interrupted. Her voice was firm but not angry. "The entire galaxy is watching us, Minho. 73 alien civilizations are monitoring this situation. If we fire first, we're just another aggressive species. If we let them strike first, we have the moral authority. We become the victims defending themselves, not the aggressors." Minho wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. Still, the waiting was torture. "Understood, Admiral. Defiant will hold position." "Good. And Minho? I know about your sister. We're doing everything we can." The screen went dark. Minho sat back in his command chair and closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about Yunji, his younger sister. She was a mining engineer, brilliant with numbers and machinery. She had always been the smart one in the family. He was just the soldier. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Velkari flagship," the communications officer announced. "Put it through." The screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was not a human face. The Velkari were reptilian, with scales that shifted from green to black. Their eyes were large and yellow with vertical slits. This one wore what looked like military decorations across his chest. "Human commander," the alien said. Its voice was translated by computer, coming out flat and emotionless. "I am Warlord Krathis of the Velkari Imperium. Your silence is noted. Your weakness is confirmed. You have one final chance to surrender your world. If you refuse, we will demonstrate what happens to species who defy the Imperium." Minho felt rage building in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "This is Captain Minho Kim of the Earth Defense Fleet. We have given you our answer. Leave our system peacefully and there will be no conflict." Krathis made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You dare speak to me of conflict? We have conquered 40 star systems. We have destroyed species more powerful than yours. Your primitive ships are no match for the might of the Imperium. I will enjoy watching your world burn." The transmission ended abruptly. "Captain, the Velkari fleet is accelerating," Bora reported. "They're heading straight for Mining Station 17. Minho's blood went cold. "How long until they're in range?" 15 minutes. "Get me Admiral Park, now." While he waited, Minho watched the tactical display. The Velkari ships were spreading out, forming an attack pattern. This was it. This was really happening. He gripped the arms of his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. Una's face appeared again. "I see it, Minho. All fleets are on standby. The moment they fire, you have authorization to engage with full force. And if they don't just fire at the station, what if they destroy it completely? Yuna's face was like stone. Then we make them pay for every life, but we still wait for them to pull the trigger first. Those are the President's orders. Those are my orders. Am I clear, Captain? Crystal clear, Admiral. The next 15 minutes felt like 15 years. Minho watched the display as the Velkari ship surrounded Mining Station 17. The station sent out distress calls. They begged for help. They begged for evacuation. But there was no time. The Velkari were too close and human ships were too far away. Minho opened a channel to the station. "This is Captain Kim. I need to speak to Yoonji Kim." There was a pause, then his sister's voice came through. "Minho, what's happening? Are you coming to get us?" "Yoonji, listen to me. You need to get everyone to the core section. The reinforced area. Right now." "Minho, you're scaring me. Please just do it. Trust me." He heard shouting in the background, people running. Then his sister's voice again. "We're moving. But Minho, there are children here, families. Please tell me you're coming." Minho's voice caught. "I can't, not yet. But I promise you, if they hurt you, I will make them pay. I swear it. I love you, big brother. I love you too." The channel went silent. On the tactical display, the Velkari flagship moved into position. Minho could see the energy building in their weapons. He counted his own heartbeats, 5, 6, 7. Then the Velkari fired. Brilliant blue energy lanced out from 20 of their ships. The beam struck Mining Station 17 from all sides. The station's shields, designed to protect against microasteroids and radiation, were useless against military-grade weapons. They collapsed in seconds. The station broke apart like a toy. Minho watched as the habitat modules exploded. 300 lives ended in an instant. 300 futures erased. "His sister gone. All ships," Minho said quietly. His voice was cold now, empty of emotion. "You have authorization to engage. Show them what happens when they strike first. Show them what humanity does to those who hurt our people." Across Earth's fleet, weapons powered up. Ships that had been waiting, watching, holding back were finally unleashed. And the Velkari were about to learn that humanity's patience should never have been mistaken for weakness. The war had begun, and humanity would finish it. The Velkari expected the human ships to scatter. In their experience, lesser species always ran when faced with the might of the Imperium. Warlord Krathis watched his display screen, waiting for the pathetic human vessels to retreat back to their homeworld. Instead, the human fleet charged forward. "What are they doing?" one of his officers hissed in confusion. "They're attacking us?" Krathis felt a flicker of unease, but he crushed it immediately. "Let them come. They'll break against our shields like waves against stone. All ships prepare to fire." On the Defiant, Minho Kim gave rapid orders. His voice was calm now, cold and focused. The grief would come later. Right now he was a weapon pointed at the enemy. Tactical, activate the quantum displacement cannons. Target their flagship. Communications, send fleet command the coordinates. I want every ship with a QD cannon to fire on my mark. Sir, they're raising shields, Bora reported. Maximum strength. Their shield technology is impressive. It won't matter. Fire. The Defiant shuddered as its main weapon discharged. To the Velkari, it must have looked like nothing happened. There was no visible beam, no missile launch, no energy bolt. Just empty space. Then the Velkari flagship exploded from the inside. The quantum displacement cannon worked on principles the Velkari couldn't understand. It didn't fire through space. It fired through dimensions appearing inside the target. Shields were useless. Armor was useless. The weapon simply appeared in the enemy ship's reactor core and detonated. Across the battlefield, 15 more Velkari ships exploded simultaneously as Earth's fleet fired together. 20% of the alien force was gone in the first 5 seconds of combat. They're breaking formation, Bora shouted. They're trying to scatter. Don't let them. Launch the swarm. The Defiant and 30 other human ships opened their missile bays. What emerged looked like clouds of tiny metal insects. Each swarm contained 10,000 micromissiles, each one guided by its own artificial intelligence. They moved together like schools of fish, adapting and learning with every second. The Velkari tried to shoot them down. Their point defense systems lit up space with weapons fire. They destroyed hundreds of the micromissiles. But for every one they killed, 3 more got through. The swarms learned which approach angles worked best. They communicated with each other, sharing data at the speed of light. Within minutes, 50 more Velkari ships were bleeding atmosphere and spinning out of control. Krathis stared at his display in horror. 35 ships lost, 1/3 of his fleet, in less than 10 minutes. This was impossible. The humans were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to be weak. Retreat, he ordered. Full retreat! Jump to hyperspace, but Minho had anticipated that. Activate the gravity wells. Hidden among the human fleet were specialized ships that had remained silent until now. They powered up strange devices that warped the fabric of space itself. Suddenly, hyperspace was impossible. The Valkyrie ships that tried to jump simply failed, their engines screaming in protest. They're trapped, Bora said with grim satisfaction. The gravity wells will hold them for at least an hour. Then we end this in 30 minutes. All ships weapons free. Destroy their military capabilities but leave their life support intact. We're taking prisoners. The battle turned into a massacre. The Valkyrie fought bravely, but they were outmatched in every way. Their shields couldn't stop human weapons. Their sensors couldn't track human ships that moved faster and more precisely. Their weapons, powerful as they were, kept missing targets that dodged with inhuman precision, because they weren't human at all. They were controlled by artificial intelligences that could react in microseconds, predict enemy movements, and coordinate with perfect efficiency. In 17 minutes, the Valkyrie fleet was disabled. 134 ships hung dead in space, their weapons destroyed, their engines offline, but their crews still alive. Minho opened a channel to all ships. Valkyrie vessels, this is Captain Kim. You came to our home. You murdered our people. You expected us to be weak. You were wrong. Now you will witness what humanity does to invaders. We're sending boarding parties. Resist and we'll vent your ships to space. Surrender and you'll live to stand trial. You have 1 minute to decide. On the Valkyrie command ship, Krathis sat in his damaged chair. Half his bridge crew was dead. The other half was injured. He looked at the tactical display and saw dozens of human ships approaching. Small craft designed for boarding actions. One of his surviving officers spoke quietly. Warlord, we should surrender. We can't fight them. Surrender? Krathis hissed. The Imperium does not surrender. The Imperium just lost an entire fleet in 17 minutes. If we don't surrender, we'll be dead, and the Imperium will learn nothing about how we were defeated. Krathis hated that his officer was right. Slowly, painfully, he gave the order. All ships stand down. Allow the humans to board. The human boarding craft attached to Valkyrie ships like parasites. Cutting tools burned through hull metal. Marines poured through the gaps, weapons ready. Commander Jiwan Lee led the assault on Krathis's ship. She was a small woman, barely over 5 feet tall, but she moved through the Valkyrie corridors like a ghost. Her combat armor made her stronger and faster than any Valkyrie warrior. Her weapon, a plasma rifle, could punch through their personal shields with ease. She had lost her family to an alien raid 5 years ago. Not the Valkyrie, but another species. The pain had never left her. When she'd heard about the attack on Mining Station 17, something cold and hard had settled in her chest. Jiwan and her team reached the bridge. The door was sealed, but thermite charges fixed that problem. The door melted and the Marines rushed in. Krathis stood waiting. He was taller than any human, his scales dark green and scarred from 100 battles, but now he looked old and defeated. I am Warlord Krathis, he said in his translated voice. I demand to be treated according to the laws of war. Jiwan walked up to him slowly. She was so much smaller, yet somehow she seemed larger. The laws of war? You mean the ones you ignored when you murdered 300 unarmed miners? When you destroyed a civilian station without warning? They were combatants. They supplied your military. They were families, scientists, engineers, children. Jiwan's voice was quiet but filled with rage. You want laws of war? Fine. You're under arrest for war crimes, mass murder, and crimes against humanity. You'll stand trial. You'll face justice. And then, Warlord Krathis, you'll spend the rest of your very long life watching your empire crumble. She gestured and 2 Marines grabbed the Valkyrie leader. He didn't resist. What was the point? He'd been beaten absolutely, humiliated completely. As they dragged him away, Krathis had one question. How did you defeat us so easily? Our intelligence said you were primitive. Just a few decades of space travel. No major wars. No great victories, Jiwan smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. That's your mistake. You assumed we were primitive because we were peaceful. You thought because we didn't conquer our neighbors we couldn't. The truth? We've been preparing for this day since we first looked at the stars. We just chose not to shoot first. We chose to wait until someone forced our hand. Congratulations, Warlord. You forced it. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Velkari warriors surrendered to human marines. Officers were taken into custody. Soldiers were disarmed and processed. Not a single prisoner was harmed. Not a single act of revenge occurred, because that was the difference. The Velkari conquered. Humanity defended. The Velkari saw weakness in mercy. Humanity saw strength in justice. On Earth, in the command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Una Park watched the battle reports with satisfaction. President Taeyang Choi stood beside her, his face grave but relieved. It's over, Una said. Total victory. Minimal casualties on our side, most of their fleet captured intact. And the price? Taeyang asked quietly. Mining Station 17. 300 dead. Including Captain Kim's sister. Yes, sir. Taeyang was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice heavy with sorrow and steel. Make sure those 300 are remembered. Make sure the galaxy knows their names. They died because we chose to wait. They died so we could fight this war with moral authority. That sacrifice matters. It changes everything. What are your orders, Mr. President? Send a message to the Galactic Council. Send them complete recordings of the battle. Let them see what happened. Let them see that we didn't fire first. Let them see what we did to those who struck us and the Velkari. Full broadcast. Every planet in their empire. Show them what happened to their mighty fleet. Show them that humanity is not prey, and offer them peace if they want it. But make it clear that if they come for us again, there will be no survivors. Una nodded and began giving orders. Within hours, the entire galaxy would know. Humanity had been tested. Humanity had waited. And when finally forced to fight, humanity had shown that patience was not weakness. It was the calm before the storm. And the storm was devastating. The Galactic Council met in emergency session on the neutral station of Unity 1. The station hung in deep space, far from any star system, maintained by all 73 member species. It was beautiful, a massive ring of silver and crystal that could house 10,000 delegates. Today, every seat was filled. At the center of the Great Hall, a hologram displayed the footage from Earth's battle with the Velkari. Council members watched in silence as the human fleet destroyed the Velkari armada in 17 minutes. They watched the quantum displacement cannons fire through shields. They watched the missile swarms learn and adapt. They watched the gravity wells trap an entire fleet. Drexus of the Mothran Collective sat in the highest seat, as befitted the oldest and most powerful member of the council. The Mothran were tall beings, nearly 8 feet in height with skin like polished marble and eyes that glowed faintly blue. They had been in space for 10,000 years. They considered themselves the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Watching the human weapons, Drexus felt something unfamiliar. Fear. This is disturbing, said Representative Quillix of the Bendari Union. The Bendari resembled large birds, with feathers that changed color based on their emotions. Right now, Quillix's feathers were dark red. Alarm. How long have the humans possessed such weapons? Our intelligence suggests at least 5 years, replied Drexus. Perhaps longer. They've been very good at hiding their capabilities. Then why haven't they used them before? Asked another representative. Why wait until attacked? Before anyone could answer, the doors to the Great Hall opened. A human walked in. Dr. Hyejin Song was 43 years old with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She wore a simple blue suit that looked plain next to the elaborate garments of the alien delegates. But she walked with confidence as if she belonged there because she did. Earth had been offered a seat on the Galactic Council just 2 days ago, after news of their victory spread. It was supposed to be an honor. Hyejin knew it was really fear dressed up as respect. Honored delegates, Hyejin said, her voice calm and clear. The translation devices built into the hall carried her words to every species in their own language. I am Dr. Hyejin Song, Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. I apologize for interrupting, but I believe I can answer your questions. By all means, Drexus said, gesturing to an empty platform. Please explain to us how a species that has been in space for barely 80 years managed to defeat a force that conquered 40 star systems. Hyejin stepped onto the platform. She was suddenly the focus of thousands of eyes, representing hundreds of different species. She didn't flinch. The answer is simple. We prepared. When we first developed faster-than-light travel and realized we weren't alone in the universe, we had to make a choice. We could reach out peacefully or we could prepare for war. We chose to do both. She pressed a button and new images appeared. For 5 years we've been observing the galaxy. We've monitored communications. We've mapped territories. We've studied technologies. We saw the Velkari conquest. We saw them destroy species that couldn't defend themselves. We saw them approach our space. And we knew they would attack. If you knew, interrupted another delegate, why didn't you strike first? Why let them kill your people? Because we needed the moral authority, Yejin said bluntly. If we struck first, we would be aggressors. Just another violent species fighting for territory. But by letting them attack us, by letting them murder 300 of our people, we established something important. We proved that we fight only in self-defense. We proved that we give peace every chance before choosing war. The hall erupted in discussion. Some delegates were impressed. Others were horrified. A few looked calculating, as if trying to decide what this meant for their own interests. Drexus called for silence. That's quite cold, Ambassador. You sacrificed your own people for political positioning. We sacrificed 300 to potentially save billions, Heejin replied without hesitation. If the galaxy had seen us as aggressors, every species here would have had reason to fear us, to oppose us, to unite against us. Instead, you saw us defend ourselves. You saw us show mercy to our defeated enemies, and now you're wondering if you should be afraid of us for completely different reasons. The truth of her words hung in the air. Every delegate in the hall was indeed wondering exactly that. Humanity had shown incredible military power, but they'd also shown incredible patience and calculation. Which was more frightening? Let me be clear, Hyejin continued. Earth wants peace. We have no desire to conquer. We have no interest in empire, but we will not be victims. We will not bow to threats, and we will not stand by while other species suffer what the Velkari tried to inflict on us. You speak of the Velkari's other conquests, Drexus said carefully. What do you intend to do about those? That depends on you. On this council. For years you've watched the Velkari expand. You've done nothing as they enslaved species, destroyed worlds, and built their empire. You had the power to stop them. You chose not to. Why? The question hung like a blade. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Finally, Drexus answered. The council operates on principles of non-interference. Each species has the right to expand as they see fit, as long as council members are not threatened. So you watched genocide and called it non-interference, Hyejin said quietly. You allowed slavery and called it another culture's choice. You permitted conquest and called it sovereign expansion. And when the Velkari turned their attention to us, you thought we'd be just another victim. Another extinct species that would prove the Velkari were too strong to oppose. That's not, Drexus started, but Hyejin cut him off. Yes, it is. Our intelligence is very good, Council Leader. We know the Council has known about the Velkari's plans to attack Earth for 6 months. We know you debated warning us and decided not to. We know some of you hoped that humanity and the Velkari would destroy each other, solving 2 problems at once. The hall went deadly silent. Several delegates looked shocked. Others looked guilty. A few looked angry that their secret calculations had been exposed. I see I'm right, Hyejin continued. Don't feel too bad. It was actually smart strategy. Sadly for you, it didn't work. The Velkari are defeated. Humanity is stronger than ever. And now we're sitting on this council, and we're going to ask some very uncomfortable questions about what this organization actually does. Drexus stood. He was tall and imposing, ancient and powerful. You dare to come here and accuse this council? I dare because my people earned that right with blood, Hyejin said, her voice hard as steel. 300 of my people died to give me the moral authority to stand here and say this. The old way is over. The Council's policy of watching injustice and calling it neutrality ends now. Because Earth will not follow that policy. When we see species enslaved, we will act. When we see worlds destroyed, we will respond. And if this Council tries to stop us, you'll learn what the Velkari learned. Are you threatening us? Drexus demanded. I'm making a promise. Humanity will be a force for good in this galaxy, with or without the Council's approval. Now you can work with us. You can help us create real justice, real peace, real freedom for all species, or you can oppose us and we'll do it anyway. But make no mistake, Council Leader, things are going to change. Before anyone could respond, Hyejin played a new video. It showed Velkari-controlled worlds, slave markets, destroyed cities, species living in chains working until they died. The images were horrific. "These are the Thren," Hyejin said, pointing to insect-like beings in cages. "The Velkari conquered them 40 years ago. 70 colony worlds enslaved, 5 billion beings living in bondage. According to council records, the Thren appealed to you for help 23 times. You denied them every time. Non-interference, you said." She turned to face the council directly. "Well, Earth is going to interfere. In 2 days, we're sending a delegation to the Velkari government. We're demanding the immediate release of all conquered species. If they refuse, we will go to war again. And this time, we won't stop until every slave is free and the Velkari Empire is broken." "You can't just declare war on a council member species," a delegate shouted. "The Velkari aren't council members. They refused your invitation years ago because they thought you were weak." They were right, by the way. But that's beside the point. The point is this: humanity is serving notice. We're going to do what's right. We're going to free the enslaved. We're going to stop the conquerors. And if you try to stop us, you'll join them. Hyejin walked toward the exit. As she reached the door, she turned back. "Oh, and one more thing. We've been in your systems for 2 years. Your communications networks, your security systems, your military databases. We know everything about every species on this council. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your secrets. If we wanted to conquer you, we could do it tomorrow. We chose not to. We chose to wait and give peace a chance, just like we did with the Velkari." She paused for effect. "I wonder if you'll be smarter than they were." Then she left, leaving 73 species in stunned silence. In his seat, Drexus realized that everything had changed. A new power had entered the galaxy, one that played by different rules. One that valued. Doyen Kang was 31 years old and had never expected to be at the center of a galactic crisis. He was an engineer, not a soldier or a diplomat. He worked in a quiet laboratory on Mars, studying alien technology that Earth had recovered over the years from crashed probes and abandoned satellites. His specialty was reverse engineering, taking apart alien devices and figuring out how they worked. It was like solving puzzles, which he'd always loved. But the puzzle he was working on now was different. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered, staring at the holographic display. In front of him floated a three-dimensional image of a Thren slave collar. The Velkari had used these devices to control their conquered populations. They delivered pain at the press of a button, and they exploded if tampered with. But this collar was different. Doyen had been examining it for 3 days, ever since a Thren refugee had smuggled it to Earth. The Thren had risked everything to get this collar to humanity, claiming it was important. But Doyen couldn't figure out why. The collar looked like all the others. Same design, same pain circuits, same explosive charge, but there was an extra component, something small and hidden deep in the electronics. A transmitter. Why would a slave collar need a transmitter? Doyen wondered aloud. His assistant, a young woman named Isul, looked up from her own work. Maybe it's for tracking? So the Velkari always know where their slaves are. That's what I thought at first. But the signal it's sending isn't a location beacon. It's something else. Some kind of code. Doyen ran the signal through every decryption program he had. Nothing worked. The code was too complex, too alien. He was about to give up when he had an idea. What if the code wasn't meant for the Velkari? What if it was meant for the Thren? He adjusted his approach, looking for patterns that an insect-based species might use instead of patterns that made sense to mammalian brains. Suddenly, the code opened up like a flower. "Oh my stars," Doyen whispered. "What? What is it?" Isul rushed over. "It's a message. The Thren built this into their own slave collars. It's a cry for help. Look, it's broadcasting constantly, sending out a distress signal in their own language. And not just their location. It's sending detailed information about Velkari military positions, ship movements, garrison strengths. They've been sabotaging their own control systems," Isul said in awe. "For how long?" Doyen checked the dates encoded in the signal. His eyes widened. 23 years. They've been doing this for 23 years, waiting for someone to hear them. Within an hour, Doyen's discovery had reached Admiral Yuna Park. Within 2 hours, it reached President Taiyang. Within 3 hours, a special ship departed for Thren space, carrying a very unusual diplomatic mission. The ship was called the Hope, and it carried no weapons. Instead, it carried a single passenger, a Thren refugee named Clickweaver of Songs, who was being sent home with a message. When the Hope entered Thren space, Velkari patrol ships immediately intercepted it. The human captain transmitted a simple message. We come to speak with the Thren people. We are unarmed. We mean no threat to the Velkhari. The Velkhari didn't believe them. They prepared to fire. But then something unexpected happened. All across the Velkhari communication networks, a signal broadcast. It was the code from the slave collars, but amplified 1,000,000 times. Every Thren on every Velkhari world heard it at the same time. It said, "Humanity hears you. Help is coming." The Velkhari realized too late what was happening. The humans had cracked the Thren secret communication system, and they were using it to coordinate. On 70 colony worlds, 5 billion Thren rose up simultaneously. The slave collars exploded, but not in the way the Velkhari expected. The Thren had been preparing for decades. They'd figured out how to overload the collars' power supplies in a way that destroyed the pain circuits, while leaving the wearer unharmed. In a single moment, 5 billion slaves became 5 billion free beings. The Velkhari military tried to respond, but they were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. The Thren weren't warriors, but they didn't need to be. They simply stopped working, stopped maintaining the Velkhari equipment, stopped following orders, and when the Velkhari tried to force them, the Thren fought back. The Hope landed on the Thren homeworld, now under martial law. Velkhari soldiers surrounded it. But Clickweaver of Songs walked out fearlessly. Behind him came a single human in a business suit. Doyen Kang. "I'm Engineer Doyen Kang of Earth," he announced to the Velkhari commander. "I am here to negotiate the immediate and unconditional release of all Thren peoples." The Velkhari commander laughed. "You're in no position to negotiate, human. You're standing on a world we control, surrounded by our soldiers. You're our prisoner now," Doyen smiled. "Am I?" "Look up." The Velkhari looked up at the sky. Their faces went pale. Dozens of human ships were dropping out of hyperspace, led by Captain Minho Kim and the Defiant, the ships that had destroyed the Velkhari fleet at Earth. "You have exactly 10 minutes to withdraw your troops from the Thren homeworld." Minho's voice boomed from every human ship. "After that, we will begin orbital bombardment of every Velkhari military installation. We have your positions. We've had them for 23 years, courtesy of the Thren. 10 minutes. Choose wisely." The Velkhari commander looked at Doyen with hatred. "You tricked us. The unarmed ship was bait. We said the Hope was unarmed. We never said our fleet wouldn't follow. But let me make something clear, Commander. We don't want to kill you. We want to free the Thren. Surrender peacefully and your soldiers will be treated well. Resist and we'll remove you by force. But one way or another, the Thren are going free today." The commander wanted to fight. Doyen could see it in his eyes. But he could also see the fear. The Velkhari had learned at Earth what happened when they fought humanity. He wasn't eager to learn that lesson again. "I need to contact my superiors," the commander said finally. "You have 10 minutes. I suggest you speak quickly." On Earth, President Taiyang watched the situation unfold. Admiral Yuna stood beside him, along with Ambassador Hijin, who had just returned from the Galactic Council. "The Velkhari government is in chaos," Hijin reported. "Half of them want to negotiate. The other half want to fight. But they're terrified. Losing one fleet was bad enough. But having their entire slave system collapse in a single day, that's existential." "What about the Council?" Taeyang asked. Mixed reactions. Some species are cheering us on. Others are horrified that we're interfering in another species' internal affairs. The Muthrin are quiet, which worries me. When Drexus is silent, he's usually planning something. "Let him plan," Yuna said. "Right now we have the momentum. The question is, what do we do with it?" Taeyang was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Send a message to the Velkhari government. Tell them we're prepared to offer terms. Complete freedom for all conquered species. Reparations to be paid to the Thren and other victims. Disarmament of 70% of their military. And acceptance of human observers to ensure compliance." "They'll never accept," Yuna said. "Then we make them accept. We have their fleet data. We have their logistics information. We know where every Velkhari military asset is located. And more importantly, we have something they don't." "What's that?" "We have the moral high ground. And we have the support of 5 billion Thren who are ready to fight for their freedom. The Velkhari can surrender with dignity, or they can be destroyed. But the empire they built is already over. They just don't know it yet." 2 hours later, the Velkhari government sent their response. They rejected Earth's terms and ordered their military to suppress the Thren rebellion by any means necessary. President Taeyang read the message and sighed. "I gave them a chance. I always give them a chance. Inform Admiral Park that she is authorized to begin Operation Justified Cause." "Justified Cause, sir?" We're not conquering the Velkari. We're liberating their victims. That's the cause, and it's justified. Now let's finish what they started when they attacked Mining Station 17. Across human space, fleets began to mobilize. Ships that had been waiting, preparing, hoping for peace but ready for war. Soldiers who had trained for years in tactics and ethics, weapons and restraint. Technology that could destroy worlds or save them. Earth was going to war again, but this time it wasn't defense. It was liberation, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity didn't just fight when attacked. Humanity fought for what was right. Doyun stood on the Thren homeworld watching Velkari troops withdraw. They were retreating in the face of Minho's fleet, choosing survival over pride. Around him, Thren civilians emerged from hiding, free for the first time in 40 years. Clickweaver of Songs approached him, moving in that strange sideways way the Thren had.
Engineer Kang, why did your people help us?
We're not even the same type of life. We're insects. Most species find us disturbing. Doyen looked at the Thren, at the scarred places on his carapace where a slave collar had rested for decades. Because you were enslaved. Because you called for help. Because we could help, and that means we had to. It's that simple. Is it? In my experience, powerful species don't help without wanting something in return. Then your experience has been with the wrong species. Humanity learned a long time ago that power without responsibility is just cruelty. General Sana Huang had seen war before. She'd fought in the border conflicts, the Mars Rebellion, and the Titan Crisis. She was 52 years old, and half her life had been spent in uniform. She thought she'd seen every horror that conflict could produce. She was wrong. The transport ship descended through the atmosphere of Thren Colony 7, one of 70 worlds the Velkari had enslaved. Sina stood at the viewport watching the surface approach. What she saw made her stomach turn. The entire planet was a factory. Endless stretches of industrial complexes covered what should have been forests and oceans. The sky was brown with pollution. Rivers ran black with chemical waste. And everywhere she saw the Thren working. Millions of them, their insect bodies bent under impossible loads, their wings clipped to prevent escape. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Quan beside her. He was young, barely 25, and this was his first real combat deployment. "This whole planet is a prison. This whole planet is an abomination," Sina corrected. "And we're here to end it." The transport landed in what had once been the Thren capital city. Now it was a command center for Velkari overseers, but the Velkari were gone now, withdrawn under threat of orbital bombardment. Only the Thren remained, confused and frightened. Sina's division, 10,000 soldiers, deployed quickly. But they weren't here to fight. They were here to help. Medics set up treatment centers. Engineers began dismantling the slave control systems. Supply officers distributed food and clean water. Sina walked through the ruins of the city, accompanied by her security team. Thren civilians watched them with what she assumed was fear. It was hard to read emotions on an insect face. But they kept their distance, clustering in groups ready to flee. A Thren approached slowly. He was old, his carapace cracked and scarred. Through a translation device he spoke. "Are you more conquerors? Have the Velkari sold us to humanity?" Sina removed her helmet so the Thren could see her face. "We're not conquerors. We're liberators. The Velkari are leaving this world. You're free." "Free?" The old Thren's antennae twitched. "What does that mean?" The question hit Sina like a punch. These people had been enslaved for so long. They didn't even understand freedom anymore. "It means you can choose. Where to live. What to work on, who to be. No one will control you. No one will hurt you. You decide your own future. And what do you want in return? Nothing. This is your world. We're just here to help you take it back." The old Thren stared at her for a long moment. Then he made a sound the translator couldn't interpret. Other Thren gathered around, all making the same sound. Sina's hand moved toward her weapon, but Lieutenant Quan stopped her. "General, I think they're crying." He was right. The sound was grief and joy mixed together. The sound of beings who had forgotten hope and were now remembering it. Over the next 3 weeks, Sina's division worked across Colony 7. They helped the Thren establish their own government. They taught them how to operate the Velkari technology that had been used to oppress them. They brought in agricultural experts to help restore the poisoned land. But liberation was more complicated than Sina had expected. The Thren had been enslaved for 40 years. An entire generation had been born in chains. They didn't know how to organize themselves. They didn't know how to make decisions collectively. Some wanted to hunt down every Velkari who remained. Others wanted to forgive and forget. Violence broke out between different groups. Sina found herself not just liberating, but peacekeeping. Breaking up fights, mediating disputes, helping a traumatized species learn how to be free. This is harder than fighting, Lieutenant Kwan said one night as they reviewed casualty reports. Not battle casualties, accidents, Thren who had hurt themselves or each other in the chaos of sudden freedom. Fighting is easy, Sina replied. You see an enemy, you defeat them, but this? Helping people rebuild after trauma? Teaching them to trust again? This is the real war, and it's going to take years, maybe decades. While Sina worked on Colony 7, Captain Minho Kim was fighting a very different war. His fleet had moved through Velkari space like a scalpel, targeting military installations with precision strikes. The Velkari military had tried to resist at first, but after losing 3 more fleets in quick succession, they'd changed tactics. Now they were guerrilla fighters, hiding among civilian populations, launching hit-and-run attacks. Minho hated this kind of warfare. It was messy. It put civilians at risk, and it forced him to make impossible choices. His ship hung in orbit over the Velkari homeworld. Below 50 million Velkari civilians lived their lives, most of them having nothing to do with their government's wars. But somewhere in that population, Velkari military leaders were hiding. Sir, we've located the command bunker, Bora reported. It's under the capital city, beneath a hospital. Of course it is, Minho said bitterly. They're using their own people as shields. We could use a precision strike. The quantum displacement cannon could phase through the hospital and hit the bunker directly. And if we're off by even a meter, we kill hundreds of patients, children, elderly, civilians who are already victims of their own government's choices. So what do we do? Minho was quiet for a long time. Then he made his decision. We go in on foot. Send a message to the Velkari government. Tell them we're inserting a strike team to capture their military leadership. Tell them if they resist, if they put civilians at risk, we will hold them personally accountable. And tell them that if they surrender voluntarily, we'll guarantee their safety and a fair trial. They'll never surrender, sir. Probably not. But we have to offer. We have to give them every chance to do the right thing. That's what makes us different from them. The strike team inserted under cover of darkness. Commander Jiwan Lee led them, the same officer who had captured Warlord Krathus. She'd spent the last month becoming an expert in urban warfare in Velkari environments. They moved through the hospital quietly, using stealth technology that rendered them nearly invisible. Medical staff walked past without seeing them. Patients slept in their beds, unaware that human soldiers were moving through the halls. The bunker entrance was hidden behind a maintenance closet. Jiwan's team burned through the lock with plasma torches, moving quickly before anyone could react. They descended 3 levels, following the intelligence reports. At the bottom, they found the Velkari War Cabinet. 12 old generals and politicians surrounded by guards. The firefight was brief and brutal. The Velkari guards were well trained, but they were fighting in a confined space against opponents wearing advanced armor. In 30 seconds, it was over. The guards were dead or incapacitated. The war cabinet was surrounded. I am Commander Jiwan Lee of the Earth Defense Force, she announced. You are under arrest for war crimes, crimes against sapient beings, and violations of the fundamental rights of conquered peoples. Surrender, and you will be treated with dignity and respect. One of the old generals, his scales gray with age, spat at her feet. We surrender to no one. We are the Velkari. We have ruled this sector for 2 centuries, and now your rule is over. You started a war you couldn't win. You enslaved species that weren't yours to control. You showed no mercy to the conquered, and now you beg for mercy from the conquerors. Do you see the irony? Kill us then. Make us martyrs. Give our people a reason to keep fighting. Jiwan shook her head. That's what you want, isn't it? A glorious death. A chance to be remembered as heroes who fell fighting the alien invaders. Sorry, but you don't get that ending. You're going to live. You're going to stand trial. You're going to face your victims. And you're going to spend the rest of your lives knowing that you lost. Not to a stronger empire, but to a species that valued justice more than conquest. She gestured to her team. Take them. As the war cabinet was led away in restraints, the old general spoke one more time. You think you've won. You think you've broken us. But you've made a mistake, human. You've shown the galaxy that you're willing to interfere in the affairs of other species. You've set a precedent. Others will use that against you. The Galactic Council will turn on you, and then you'll understand what we learned long ago. Mercy is weakness. Justice is a luxury. Only power matters. G1 paused at the door. Maybe, but I'd rather be destroyed for doing what's right than live forever doing what's wrong. That's the difference between us. That's why you lost. 30 days after Operation Justified Cause began, it was over. The Velkari Imperium, which had stood for 200 years and conquered 40 star systems, ceased to exist. The War Cabinet stood trial on neutral ground, overseen by judges from Earth and freed representatives from the Thren and other conquered species. The evidence against them was overwhelming. They were found guilty on all counts. The punishment was not death. President Tai Yang had been clear about that. We don't execute prisoners no matter how guilty. That would make us like them. Instead, the Velkari leaders were sentenced to life in prison, where they would work alongside their former slaves in rebuilding the worlds they'd destroyed. On Earth, Admiral Una Park stood before the United Earth Council and presented the final casualty report. Total human casualties: 371 dead, mostly from the attack on Mining Station 17. 842 wounded. Velkari casualties: estimated 6,000 military personnel,